So when we coined the term food as medicine, we were talking about nutrigenomics. Because just having an orange for vitamin C is a deficiency conversation. I'm just going to plug some vitamin C into my body. When you can make genes switch on, you're having a healing conversation.
So my personal philosophy is 100% plant-based, whole foods. So a whole food plant-based diet is my personal philosophy. Most people who know that and come to me want to move all the way to that or very, very close to that.
We're trying to get people to do whole food plant-based diets, which have been shown for all 4 of those issues. Lower the weights, less diabetes, less hypertension, less high cholesterol. We have large randomized trials for each of them saying that we can reduce those risk factors. And so the same thing that has been driving cardiovascular disease, and I was saying that, I wanted heart disease to be number 2 before I retired, and then I got slapped in the face by the obesity and diabetes epidemic that we were in, so that the mortality rate started to go up. Well, now we're being faced with another issue that is exactly the same risk factors: hypertension, diabetes, high cholesterol, and hypertension. And if we could do a nutrition intervention for the entire country, started today, we would lessen those risk factors in days, weeks. And the outcome for COVID, which is going to be around for a while, very clearly, second, third waves. Every time we open up, things are going to get bad again. Well, how about protecting the population with plant-based nutrition?
We talk about heritability, which is how much is inherited from our genes that will determine how I look or act or disease or anything. And in genetics of weight or obesity, it ranges between 40 and 80%. So this idea that we can say that the genetics of weight or the genetics of cancer, the genetics of diabetes is one number can't be true, because the whole point about genetics is personalization. That we all have this different blueprint of how susceptible we are. So there are very few diseases that are 100% genetic. There are, but they're super, super rare, very, very rare.
So people of the Marshall Islands, 80 years ago had no type 2 diabetes. Their diet was 60% coconut, which it may be a shock to you, but basically what we see is people who remain lean, who are eating whole unprocessed foods. But if they're eating, a lot of plants, particularly, and they don't get overweight, they don't get type 2 diabetes.
What has been shown in the research is that simply adding pulses to your diet can lead to weight loss without doing anything else, meaning you don't have to count calories, you don't have to take anything else away, just by adding them. And that's probably a triple effect. Number one, they're very satiating. So they tend to lead to eating less later in the day. So you kind of naturally curb your consumption. The other thing is the fiber and the anti-inflammatory effect, because they're so high in antioxidants and anti-inflammatories, that probably has an impact on our metabolisms in ways that help with weight management.
If they want to live a longer, healthier, happier, better life, they need to make those changes to be able to ensure that there's a better match between their genes and the choices that they're making. And the other thing is quantity. So for some people, having 1 to 2 portions a day, or even 1 portion a day of cruciferous vegetables is enough. But if we see in your genetics that your detox is suboptimal, your oxidative stress is suboptimal, your inflammation is too high, we don't want 1 portion a day. We want 3, 4, 5 portions a day. And no one's going to eat 3, 4, 5 portions. So we try to get a couple of portions in food, and we top it up with a supplement. So it's about quantity, and it's about getting people to understand why they need to make the behavioral change that they do.
There's a blue zone called Okinawa that's about 6 to 10% of calories from fat. There's another blue zone called Ikaria, Greece. They eat 40 to 50% of calories from fat. They don't get diabetes when they're eating their traditional diet. So that, to clarify, is really important. It's not so much the percentage of calories from various macronutrients that really matters. It's the source of those macronutrients.